Happy Thursday, you guys. I have an awesome guest tonight, and I've talked to her before, so we'll be catching up on all the new and good things that she's been up to.
Hello.
Hello, hello, my little friend.
Just making sure. There we go. I feel like I have so many books in the background. I'm like, can you even see me?
Like a chameleon. Where are you at?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome to Let's Go Live. I'm Gigi Meyer, and I have with me contemporary romance author Meredith. Welcome back, Laura.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back. I remember we talked about like whenever I next came out with a book to like let you know, and I was so excited when I came out with a book, partially for the book, but also because I was like, now I have an excuse to do this again.
You never need an excuse to do this again. We can get on. We can talk author journey, tips, tricks, everything to help other authors. So we don't have to have a book coming out to celebrate you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Okay. So we have like, this hour is going to be quick. I know, because, you know, we have so much fun just catching up and talking with each other. Oh, I got a weird message. So congratulations on the 6th release. Oh, where did she go? Okay, Laura, you are frozen. Maybe you already know that. Let's see if she reconnects with us. Hold on, y'all. Let me invite her again.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I was like, oh, that's weird. My internet is actually high.
It froze and then
then I disappeared and I could still watch you, and I was like, oh no.
Talking to myself. Okay, so this is your 6th book, correct?
Well, it's my 3rd book
on Amazon.
But yeah, how many, like with Wattpad though, it would be, how many books do I? Yeah, probably about 6. Yeah, we're about there. So yeah, 6, but 3rd on Amazon.
I know, but 6, because we're going to celebrate the victories. It don't matter where it's hung. We wrote it. You put it out there. Let's celebrate it.
We're going to celebrate it. I did put out a new book on Wattpad. I put out Spencer, which is the 2nd book in my Bachelor series on Wattpad. Finally, it's been written since like the end of 2022, but some things kind of kept me from putting it out. And finally in January, I did it. So we have technically 2 releases this year.
Hey, that's exciting. Okay, so let's dive into the most recent one, For the Love of Art, correct?
Yes, my newest baby. It's backward.
Oh, I love that cover. Okay, girl, I gotta put on my glasses to get real in here. Okay, did you create that cover, or did you have it designed?
I did not. So I had a really wonderful artist. Her name's Skenya. You can find her on here at Wigged Wonder.
And what? Say it slow.
At Wigged Wonder, WIGGED Wonder, like a wig.
Yep.
Yeah, and she did the artwork for this. I gave her like the concept and stuff, and she did her magic. I did the
really good.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's a genius. She did all my covers. She also did these 2 for my first 2 books. Although this one's only a novella. It's just a little baby book, but yeah.
Those are beautiful covers.
Yeah, she's incredible. She does amazing work, and she's so easy to work with. Like yeah, I had a wonderful time working with her, and yeah, I can't sing her praises enough. She's so skilled, and she's just so funny, and yeah, just everything.
Does she do the NSFW stuff? Not safe for work, artwork, you know, the
I've never asked her because, like, although my books, I will say this one is pretty spicy if you like spice. Yeah, I've never asked her. I've never kind of put that in my books, like spicy artwork, but I know it's really becoming a thing, the spicy, not safe for work
Okay,
stuff.
so I have both my series are spicy, but one is really dark, right? So, but then I have another series that's super spicy. And so I have been getting a lot more artists reaching out to me like, hey, do you want to do some of that? And I was like, okay, yes. But I just don't know. I want to do a book box and put it all in there.
Well, let me know when that book box comes out because I would like it.
It's going to be because none of my series, this one series, Cougars and Cubs, is not in paperback. And I'm saving the paperback so that way I can make like a spicy little book box.
Oh my gosh, I'm here for that book box. Like, I want you to message me immediately and just take all my money.
So I have a brain trust, and there's 5 of us, I think so. And someone was talking about putting, toys.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Because there's
You know what?
a little bit of like toy action so
In
it would be perfect.
I also saw someone wrote a really spicy book and then they put like a tumbler like this, like an off-brand Stanley in there, and it was like to cool you off. Yeah. I thought that was so cute. But like
That was
within,
so cute.
like, all decoed out for like the theme of their book, and I'm like, that is so smart. You know?
Oh yeah. Okay, but this is not about my book box. This is about my friend Laura. Okay, so tell us, is this book the third one then in that series?
No. So this one's
this...
actually a standalone novel. I do have the third book in Colorland written. It just has to go through the whole editing process. I just didn't quite get there. This was originally on Wattpad. It got shortlisted for the 2021 Watties, and then I basically just kind of took it down from there, got it edited, and decided to put it out into the big bad Amazon world. I just thought that it would be kind of like fun to see how it did outside of Wattpad.
Oh
And,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I just felt like doing something a little different. I had been really in the Colorland world for a while, and I just kind of was like, okay, I'm going to take a little break and go somewhere else for a minute, and that's just where I chose to go.
Well, and we have to, right? When you are a series writer, sometimes you need a break from your own work. And if you're a reader and you're hearing this, you're like, what?
Yeah.
But if you're an author, you totally understand. It's why I have one spicy and one dark. Like when I'm done like killing and murdering people, I want to get over to some spice.
Yeah, for sure.
I've
never written dark romance, so I don't know what that's like. But I can imagine that gets pretty hard to do over and over again.
When you write dark, there's literally like very little rules. You can do whatever you want. You just call it like morally gray. Because let's be honest, in real life, if a man were to treat you like that, you'd probably stab him.
Yeah, for sure.
Bookland, fictional book boyfriends, we can do whatever we want.
It's so true. I was actually talking to my friend SM. She's on Instagram. It's at s.m.web author. And we were talking about Twisted Love. And like Alex, he's such a good book boyfriend. I'm like, everything he's doing in this book so hot. I was like, real life though, I would not.
I would shank you in the shower.
Exactly. It would just be a hard no from me. I'm good.
Okay, so walk us through, this is a standalone. Mm-hmm. Tell us, if you can, no spoilers, what it's about, where your inspiration came from, because I also kind of want to unpack your other series and what else you have going on.
So this book, For the Love of Art, it follows the story of Isla from her point of view. And she's a divorcee in New York. She's been separated from her husband for about 6 months when the book starts up. So, and then she basically goes into a gallery and she meets a billionaire gallery owner, and love pursues. And he's got a bit of a dirty mouth, so just be aware.
Okay, we all love that. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's like, that's horrible, I don't read that.
Yeah. I know, that's me all the time, basically, to my mother-in-law. Like, no, I don't read that stuff.
You're like, that's not,
Yeah.
What's the name of it? Let me just write it so I don't come across it.
Yeah, I just want to write the title down so that I never buy it.
Okay, so it's the billionaire stories. Do you have it classified as billionaire? Because I know that's a super popular genre.
It is. So I did classify it as a billionaire, but I decided I wanted to set myself apart just a little bit, and I wanted to do a billionaire rom-com. So I wanted it to be funny. I wanted to try and take, like, obviously getting divorced is a big deal. Like, it's not a small matter in someone's life.
Girl, don't I know it? Shit, I'm a divorcee.
I also decided that I would talk about infertility in this book. So I wanted to take these two kind of hard topics and, you know, somehow be able to put a, you know, kind of lighten it up a little bit because they're very heavy to talk about.
Oh my God.
And, yeah. So it's yeah, that's basically what it's about.
Okay.
Is her journey to
okay, so it's kind of a mashup. So where did this inspiration come from?
Originally, it was just 50 Shades of Grey. I was like, boy, that was just that was a lot.
That was a lot, yeah.
Like, that was like when I finished reading that trilogy, which I'm the first to say I never read series like one after the other. I have to leave a series world. I can't read them in a row the way some people can.
Yeah.
That's one series that I read one after the other. When I was done, I was like, wow, that was a lot. Also, I don't know about this Christian guy. I think I can make him better. And so it kind of started, like, when I wrote it, like, I started kind of writing this years and years ago in my early 20s, not trying to age myself.
Wait, this
but yeah, I kind of started, like, the very basics of writing it before I knew anything about, like, book structure and all this kind of stuff. I started writing it, and it was kind of my idea of, like, take Christian Grey, make him somewhat normal.
Likable.
Not
an abuser.
Yeah, that third book, he really did himself in.
Where are we going with this story? We got off track.
But yeah, make him likable. And then also I was just really, so I grew up in a very like conservative, like Christian Catholic home. And so I had just started watching Sex in the City. And so I really liked that vibe. So I tried to take that kind of 2000s rom-com vibe, kind of take 50 Shades, make Christian likable, and mashed it all up into like a fun new book with a totally different premise, by the way, than both those things. Just the vibes.
Okay, I love that. It seems like such a fun book. So how long did it take you to write this one? Because you said you originally, and it's kind of like when you dusted off, revamped it a little bit, you know, put it in a Wattpad, took it back out of Wattpad.
Yeah, it's all been a very long process. So Wattpad was back in 2021 was when I first really dusted it off and kind of put it onto Wattpad. And then I left it alone for a long time. And then it was, yeah, kind of, I want to say just after I put out Colorland, I started dusting it off. So that would have been March last year. But I also knew I wanted to get my novella out. So I was kind of between my novella and this for the majority of that time. And then I was full steam on this from like probably September on till whenever I finished it in January, I want to say is when I officially finished it.
So we've talked about Wattpad in the past, and it's great to test material because you get feedback, which you sometimes may need to bring like a drink or some tissues when you start reading the comments because they can be brutal. But did you take that Wattpad version and, you know, have all the comments and then kind of massage it, tweak it, rewrite here, do something there?
I definitely did. Something that I really learned in Wattpad, and a mistake that I was making a lot, and I learned even more whenever I got a developmental editor, was my tags were just atrocious.
Your dialogue tags?
Yeah, my dialogue tags were just, she was like, why do you have so many? I was like, I don't know. And so I feel like I really learned from that experience. And even as I write now, I'm much more like cognizant of my dialogue tags and how much I'm tagging and what I'm tagging and all that kind of stuff. And it was funny because one of the first comments I got from somebody was like, wow, I really liked how I knew who was talking even when you didn't have a tag. And I was like, yes, I did it.
I did it right.
I did it right.
Dialogue tags ebb and flow per book. You know, I've noticed through my own style, some books I'm like, girl, stop. You have way too many.
Yeah.
And then others I'm like, man, I had hardly any. What was I doing back then?
Yeah. It's so true. But it's also interesting in traditionally published books. I read a book called Vladimir, and the name of the author escapes me, but it was a really good book. But one thing that I noticed as I was reading it was at the end of every single dialogue, it said, this person said, that person said. Like, it was just all the time. And I was like, is it meant to be kind of stuttering like this? Is that part of the style, or, you know?
Oh, I know in a lot of the trad published, they do want you to just say or said. They don't want all the creative dialogue tags. And I'm like, girl, whatever. Like a Sarah Moss, the queen of fantasy, can use chimed and growled. I'm like, I'm going to do what she does. But
I would like a couple of those bat boys to growl at me.
I know, right? I was like, oh, she does it, and she's the queen of it. But I know I have a couple of my author friends that are trad published, and they get just annihilated on their dialogue tags.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to convert mine more to, like, you know, action beats.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want to say bark or chipped or, you know, growled or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that's my thing too, is I try to do more actions than just like says or said.
Yes.
Because now when I read back through some of my old Wattpad stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I see what they mean by the tags being a little too much.
Yeah, I'm horrified to go back to my debut novel. I'm like, ooh, one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day I'll put that back through you know, I had an excellent developmental editor at the time, but the rest of it is on me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, like I just got a developmental editor. I didn't have the best experience, so I actually switched editors for my next book, and I'm having a much better time. But yeah, it's amazing how wonderful having an editor is and how much I've learned from just one book. Like, you know, I didn't think I would learn that much, but no, I learned a lot.
And I like that you say that, because people think you need a developmental editor only in the beginning because you're a new author. But here you have 6 books out. I have 8.
Yeah.
I mean, my dev editor, me and her, she's my ride or die. I think she's on here. But because you can't see the forest through the trees anymore. You can't see whether you lose attention, you lose the pacing. And even though I feel like, even though you go through all these drafts, you just get blind to your own holes.
And you're also like, for me too, like there hits a point where I'm like, oh my god, like I can't keep reading this, you know, like I
hate the story.
Oh man.
Yeah, when I first started, very first book I was working on, my debut, I had an author friend who, she had like 20 books out at the time. And so she's like, you're going to edit it to death. And she's like, when you know you absolutely hate it, and you're like, I hate this damn book, it'll never be a success, I never want to read it again. She goes, then you know it's time to publish it. And I was like, that's terrible advice. I totally understand what she means now.
Yeah, I mean, Colorland, that's exactly how I felt when I put it out. I was just so sick of the story, to the point where I'm like, well, I'm going to put this out and everyone's going to hate it because it's like just the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But I realized, I'm like, no, you just read it too many times. You're done reading this book.
But with also a developmental editor, you need to make sure that you're on track with the story. I have a terrible time meeting the beat sheet. And just like, did I venture too far off the reservation? I need to bring it back in. And sometimes when we write characters, we think they're fine. And yet our dev editor is like, oh, I got a real ick factor. And you're like, but I didn't write him icky.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be icky, and you're saying he is?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing for me was the new developmental editor, she gave me like a sample chapter.
Yeah.
I gave her my chapter and I'm like, look, I was like, I think this is the worst thing I've ever written in my whole life. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with it. I was like, I hope you can figure it out. And she read it and she was like, I don't know why you think this is so bad. She's like, I think you just started in the wrong spot. And if you started here and then went from there, she was like, I bet you anything that you would find the writing easier. And so I did what she said and bam, I was like, oh yeah, that did come out a lot smoother.
I know. I love when they tell you you're starting your story either too far back or too close up. And so they're like, you need to move it to here. And it becomes so much sharper. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. And I think that's just it. It's like in my head, it's like I get so stuck on this idea. I'm like, this has to happen. It has to happen this way. And it takes someone else coming in and saying, you know, it doesn't have to happen this way. It could happen this way. And it would be just as impactful. And you're like, oh, right, you're right.
Or this is repetitive. And we kind of already had you say that, but in a different way. And so now you're saying it again. So move on. And you're like, oh, you know, sometimes we don't see that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I can't say enough about having a developmental editor. Like it's changed my writing game for sure. I don't use it for Wattpad, I will fully admit. Like it's a free site. You're getting my writing for free. So it's just like Grammarly checked, but for like the stuff that I'm saying, hey, buy my book, pay for it, it's like it feels well worth it to polish it up and make it nice so that when someone spends, you know, $20 on my book, they feel like it was a well spent $20, hopefully. I mean, you can still not like the story, that happens too. I can't fault you on that, but
no, I feel like Wattpad, you're not going to have one dev editor. You're going to have about 50 or 100 in the comments because they'll let you know.
They tell you. They will tell you. And some of them aren't very nice, but there are a lot of people out there who they very nicely say their thoughts. And I had that with Colorland. My first book, Colorland, was out on Wattpad first, and I had someone who went through and read my book and left me like a very thoughtful, not even in the comments, she sent me a message, a private message, and it was very thoughtful and very like just telling me some things that as a reader she saw that she thinks would improve the story because she loved the story so much, but she just felt like there were a few things. And I took some of those things and I did it. So in Colorland, I actually cut out a character because she said this character is like hindering where like your main character from like, I guess, being a main character.
Ooh,
and I thought that was very interesting. And so when I cut the character out, it really did change it really did change my main character. So I was like, wow, who would have thought that just cutting one character out could do so much?
You're like, okay, you're hired as my beta reader.
Yeah, exactly. I've never seen her in any of my books ever again. And I never get in contact because I put this out at like the end of 2020, early 2021. And yeah, and I never saw her again.
Girl, she's probably back at work. So we all sat at home at 2020.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so tell us about, is this going to be a standalone or will this be the first book in the series?
It is going to be a standalone, yeah. I've had a few people message. They really like, there's two side characters, Isla's best friends, Leanne and Frankie, and I've had a few people message and be like, we need their story, and I'm like, yeah, like that'd be fun, but I think we're going to leave it. It's like, you can imagine their stories. You can decide.
But what a lovely compliment.
It is. Yeah. A lot of people really love them. I love them too. It's funny. Someone I know said that they, when I first wrote this book, that they didn't like Frankie and I should cut him out. And I was like, no, I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to keep him. It was not my, just to let everybody know, my editor loved the side characters. It was just like a reader. And I'm so glad I didn't because everyone really connects with them. And so I always think about that. Like, yeah, no, I made the right choice, like listening to my gut that both these characters needed to stay in the book. And it worked out well for me.
Oh, I totally understand. I have one book. Actually, no, she has two books. And the character, people either love her or hate her. There is no in between with her because she is in your face, audacious, says what she wants. And some people are like, she is way too over the top. I can't get past that. I have other people that are like, I am her. Like Danny. And I'm like, okay. So yes, I totally understand what you're saying.
Oh, I love books like that where it's like people either love them or hate them, and I'm like, oh, I hope I love them.
That's her. And so she's been in 2 of her own books. She's appeared in the 3rd. She's now in this 4th one I released a little bit. And people are like, we want more of her. And I'm like, I don't know what else to write in her story.
It is, I don't know. It's great when people connect with characters.
And make it real.
Yeah. Actually, that was my favorite comment I was getting about Colorland, was the fact that everyone was like, oh, these characters are so real and I could be her. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. Like, when I'm reading romance, like, I do love the kind of fantastical romances, like the billionaire romances where you're like, that's never gonna happen. Like, of course I enjoy that too. And the morally gray characters who I know in real life are just giant red flags. I get it. It's fine. But like, I also love a good romance where I'm like, I could be this character. Like, this could be my love story. And I love that. And that's what I really wanted to create in Colorland. And so people either love or hate that because it depends on what you're looking for as a reader. But I love it.
That's a good segue into that series. So kind of give us an overview of that series, if it's on Amazon or Wattpad.
So this is on Amazon. It was originally on Wattpad. It's not on there anymore, obviously, because now I'm selling it as a book. But this is the first book, Colorland. Very pretty cover, once again, done by Skenya. She does a wonderful job. And yeah, it's the story of a dentist and a delivery truck driver. And I purposefully made her have the better job because I think it's important to show that women can be the breadwinners and it's okay. You know?
Hello.
And it's an opposites attract romance. So it's strangers to lovers. So they meet in the beginning. They have a very cute meet cute, but they're very much polar opposites of each other. And it's basically like him teaching her, like, you know, that she doesn't have to live like this perfectly curated life that she feels like she has to live, that you can just enjoy life for what it is. And yeah, like she has like a massive growth arc, I think, in this book. And then I was feeling sad when I finished writing this book. And I was like, oh, I wonder what happened to them later. And then that turned into A Very Colorland Christmas, which is a novella.
Wait. So it's the same couple? 2 books, 1 story?
Yeah, it's the same couple.
I love this. My favorite.
And this is like a bridge to book 3. So, yeah, like you could read book 3 without technically reading this and you'd get the gist of what happened. But yeah, like this is definitely your bridge to book 3. I call it book 1.5 because it's just so tiny. It's also a holiday book, and not everyone wants to read a full-length romance, you know, at Christmas. You got a lot of holiday books to get through in a short time. So,
oh no,
but yeah,
I love Christmas books.
Yeah, so it's the continuation. So yeah, like if you liked this, you'll like this. Also, if you don't like a ton of spice, these are definitely much more tame than this one, which is like, you know, half the chapters have something spicy in them. These ones are way cooled down. So, so it depends what you're looking for. But all of them are open door, I will say that.
Oh, good. We like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so book 3, or as you say, book 2.0.
Yeah, technically book 2, but you know, book 3 if we're going by like number of books.
3. So tell us a little bit about that. Have you started writing it? Is it coming off of Wattpad too? Was it on Wattpad? Now you're doing it?
It was never on Wattpad. Yeah, kind of last year I made kind of a choice that I was like, okay, instead of pulling books off of Wattpad and rewriting them or, you know, whatever, I was like, I'm just going to put some books on Wattpad, some books out to Amazon. You know, I'm going to do that. Like, now, well, it's like now too, I feel a little bit more established as an indie author where I kind of have avenues to get beta readers and to get ARC readers and all this stuff. Now people kind of know me and I have a little team of people who are happy to help me. And, you know, I have like a good critique partner and all these things. So I don't feel like I need to rely on Wattpad as much for all that kind of stuff the way I used to. But yeah, so book 3.
Excellent start for free resources. If you're, you know, starting out as a new author and you can't afford, because let's be honest, developmental editing,
So
line editing, and your cover, that could be over $1,000 easily, depending on the size and the word count and all that. And so per book, it's quite an investment. And so if people don't have the money up front to put in their author career, Wattpad is excellent to try and test out your different books, to see what you have to rewrite, your stories, how they work, how they resonate. I think it's genius what you started with.
Exactly. Yeah, it works so well. And also Inkit, if you're not on Wattpad, Inkit is another avenue as well. It's another
Forget about that.
Yeah. Because everyone's on Wattpad, it seems. I mean, there are a lot of people on Inkit too, so I don't want to badmouth Inkit. Inkit's great as well. But yeah, so book 3 I decided, because these ones were already out and I'm a little bit more established, I was like, I think I'll just go straight to Amazon with it. So I haven't released the title, I haven't released the characters yet, but if you stay tuned to my page, all of that will be coming.
Ooh.
So.
Have you started writing it though?
It is. So the very first draft is written. I have to go in and do my edits. I always do my own edits before I send it off to a developmental editor, because I think I just feel like I have to polish it up and send my best work so that I can be horribly critiqued by somebody else.
No, I do too. I do that run through, then I send it through Grammarly and ProWrite Aid, and it's still a mess when it goes over to my dev editor. God bless her soul.
Yeah, I know. It's just things where I'm like, I want it to be as polished as I feel I can make it, so that when I send it over to her, I feel like I'm sending like the best that I could do first go around, Yep. Yeah. But yeah, so that has not happened yet, which is why I'm like, I'm kind of working on another project right now too. So it's like I've kind of got like my hand, like got a lot of pots on the burner.
Oh, shiny new idea syndrome is chronic with us indie authors, because you already have been through like, whew, I got draft 1 done. And you're like, oh, look at this pretty over thing. You're like, no, girl, stick with, get draft 2 and 3.
I feel like that's how For the Love of Art came out so quickly after A Very Colorland Christmas. It's because I was working on them simultaneously. I couldn't be monogamous. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh my gosh, that's an awesome word.
Couldn't be monogamous with my books, which is funny because with Colorland, it was the only thing I worked on. It was the only thing I thought about. It was the only thing I did, to the point, like I said, where I was absolutely sick of the story. And I was like, everyone's going to hate Colorland because I hate it.
Yeah, you're like, I'm blind to all my heirs anyway. Screw it. Okay, so do you know on this, I said it's no title and no reveal, but do you know, will it come out this year? We're April.
I don't know if it'll come out this year. I feel like that's a big maybe. Maybe. This year I feel like I can't promise any more releases other than For the Love of Art, because I don't know, 2023 was like wild and crazy, and I feel like I did so much work that, I came into this year and I was like, I just want to relax, and I have a few other things in my life I've been working on. Today is like my busy day because I go to the gym on Thursdays with my personal trainer, so I've been like really kind of like working on like my overall health and stuff like that lately.
For you, yeah. Queen,
yeah,
team kill it, yes, I'm all about that.
Like my physical health, I've been like doing more like therapy and stuff like that, like working on like making sure that I'm like healthy all through. And so that's kind of been my 2024 focus, more so than writing. So I'm like, I don't want to make promises I can't keep, but as soon as I know I can make a promise, I was like, I'm going to do it. So if I know I can get a book out by a certain time, I will. That's how I decided on the date for the Love of Art, was I was like, I'm so sure that I can do it by April 1st, which is my birthday. Which is also why I picked, thank you, which is why I picked the date. And I was like, I know I could do it. So that's why I did it. Cause I was already like formatting it and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, definitely. It's definitely going to get done. Yeah.
Okay. So that is the Amazon series. What's on Wattpad, that series?
Yeah. So on Wattpad, I have my Bachelor Collective series. So it's a group of 5 male friends. It's all told from male POV, which I did it that way because I wanted to learn how to write the male POV.
Love it.
Right now, as we all know, in romance, dual POV is in, and I was completely intimidated by the idea of writing from a man's perspective. And so, yeah, so I did that series. So the first book is Reed. He's a doctor, very handsome. We all love a good doctor.
Of
He meets it's a strangers to lovers medical romance basically, and yeah, so that's him. And then the second book is Spencer, and he's a firefighter, so equally as hot. And it's an interracial relationship, which of course we all know I enjoy that.
yeah.
And yeah, and so he's a firefighter, and he's like kind of, you start to see it in book one that he's had a crush on a woman for a while, and basically he's played the long game, and that's kind of how book two plays out, is him just being a patient guy.
Okay, that is sweet though. But I like how you are taking your, no, I don't want to say weakness, it's such a strong word, but taking an area that you feel is kind of at a deficit, and you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to let it overwhelm me or hinder me, so I'm going to dive deep and write it all from the male point of view. I mean, mad respect.
Yeah, and that's why the current project I'm working on now, it's a dual POV book, and I feel like because I did these Bachelor stories, it does feel like I can kind of, I feel more confident writing from the male perspective than I probably would have if I did this in 2021, which is why a lot of my books aren't in the dual POV, because I've always been really nervous, but now I'm like, nope, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to put it out there, and we're gonna go and do this.
I think that's wonderful, but you know, we all have to start somewhere. My first series is dark, and that's all single POV. Mm-hmm. And then my, naughty Cougars and Cubs is dual. And I think sometimes you have to cut your teeth as a writer to figure out what works for you. I know we read a lot, single and dual, or like multi POV.
Oh my gosh. Whenever there's more than two, I was just talking to my friend Ria today about this. She actually, I think it's in here. But yeah, I was talking to her about this today. I was like, I feel like once you have more than two points of views, you have to be a really good storyteller. And so I'm always in awe, because anytime I read like 3 or more points of views and I love it, I'm like, this person can tell a story. It's amazing to me.
The filter, right? Like, you can't let on anything else. You have to stay in that head only, and then you have to just head jump like around the table. And it's, I mean, some of them have like 5 and 6. I'm like, whoa, how do y'all do that?
Oh my.
And then as an author, you're the other person at the table, because you have to keep it all straight.
I know. I don't even know. What book was it I read? Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I think it's, anyway. Amazing story. There are so many characters though. I'm like, how did you do that? Like, I need to like sit down with him and figure this out, because I'm like, this was such a good story. Like, I can't talk about it enough. It's so good. And there were all these characters, and it all came together in, I was just mind blown. Like, I'm still mind blown. I read this in September, and I'm still mind blown by it.
No, I mean, it's good, right? Because when we follow people who are maybe further along in their author journey, or, some of these people that have an MFA in English or creative writing, you're like, my gosh, it shows.
Yes.
And then it, I hope, in my case, it elevates me to, maybe not their level, but a level up from where I was.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the importance of reading is you see all these different levels of and different ways of approaching like the same tropes and stuff like that. And I think it really does help you with your own stories and story building and stuff like that.
And I think too, to develop your voice, right? So as a new writer, you don't know, are you writing in long sentences, short and clippy? I mean, how do you write? What is your voice? What words do you use, and how does it come together? Because I read something, you can, when they get co-writers or co-authors, you can kind of tell if you don't have the right fit. You can tell like who is Laura and who is Gigi.
Yeah.
When in the same story.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's when you lose the voice. Like, I'm fascinated by co-authors, but I feel like your writing style has to match for the reader to make it seem seamless.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too. Mentioning her again, my friend Ria and I, we used to write on another app called Episode together, and that was something that we were really good at. No one could tell when it was me and when it was her
Ooh.
writing the stories, and we could write in the exact same, like, so like Episode, it's exactly what it is. Like, it's like it's an episode is a chapter, right? And so we'd write in the same like chapter together, and you could never tell which one of us it was. And I don't know, I always was like, I don't know how we did that. Like, literally, it's like we just decided one day, oh, let's write a story together, and we somehow like made it work. And to this day, I'm like, I don't even know how it worked out. Like, it just did.
Yeah, I mean, that's magic to be able to find someone and then to be seamless like that.
Yeah. And it really was like, I read our stories and I'm like, and like years later, and I was like, yeah, I can't remember who wrote this part. Like, it's like, it was one of us.
Part was genius, whoever wrote it.
Yeah. Anything that I'm like, that was pure genius, I just automatically say it was her, because I'm like, it couldn't have been me.
No, that's not true.
I'm sure she probably does the same thing too, where she's like, no, that was funny. That was probably Laura.
Okay, so that is, so you have the doctor. Okay, are they all following like an emergency response or like a medical or like a hospital at the time?
So yeah, the first one was the first one is the doctor, a second one a firefighter, the third one is a tradesman. And that's because I work in the trades, like not I'm a bookkeeper, but like I work in a trades environment. So I decided I would do that because I thought I would be able to like bring that to life.
Okay, trains, like choo-choo or trade?
Like trade. Like it's a machinist. So
okay.
I don't know if everyone knows what a machinist is because it's such a weird trade.
No. Well, I mean, I'm in Houston. We have a ton of them, so I know.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so a machinist, and the fourth one is an underground fighter, and
underground. Oh, like
fighter, yeah.
MMA, kind
of
like that.
Yeah, like MMA, but the illegal kind.
Okay, interesting.
And then the fifth one is a police officer, and they're all just friends. You know, they're a part of a friend group, and it's all them finding their love. Yeah. And then all of them, they're like, so you don't have to read them all. And yeah, sorry, someone messaged me and I lost my train of thought. Sorry, so you don't have to read them all if you don't want to. But if you do read them all, there is like an overreaching arc that can be kind of seen through all of them.
Ooh,
and then
nice.
the overall arc resolves in the fifth book, but like you don't technically have to read them all to kind of get it. Sort of thing.
5 books is ambitious. So do you have all these written, or are they all just, you know, I mean, 2 are out. Are the rest just kind of ruminating?
They're in my head. So I have all the plotting done for them, but I've not written them. Yeah, it's just I just feel like there's so many ideas, you know, and it's hard to find the time to sit down and write as much as I want to, because I'm not a full-time writer, you know. I still have my job, my day job. Writing it's you know, my side hustle.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's hard finding the time to write, and like, you know, I have 2 young kids, so it makes it even harder. Yeah.
Life. Okay, so do you then have a writing schedule? How do you make it happen?
With a lot of coffee and some delusion. Yeah, no, it's like I write when I can write, and yeah, that's why I'm also like, oh, I don't know if I can really promise anything more this year. I'm trying to get more out, but I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep, because I'm trying to, I want to write, and I write as much as I can, and I do write quite a bit, but I'm also trying to focus on like other aspects of my life too, to, you know, be the best me.
Yes, to be the best mama, the best Laura.
Best mom, best writer.
Well, no, I think this is inspiring, because most people are not full-time writers. Most people have to write early in the morning, late at night, on weekends, when the kids go to bed. Yeah. You know, when like some are shift workers, and so when the husband goes and works the night shift, you know, and they put the kids down, that's when they get to write before bed, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people listening that always are fascinated to know, like, well, how do you write and how do you get it in? And my question for you is, since you don't necessarily can't afford the luxury of a regular schedule, do you find yourself marinating on the next scene or the next few scenes? And does that help you? Because then you're not under the gun.
I do. Yeah, I find myself sometimes I'm like driving somewhere and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, like I have such a good idea. And I'm thinking it through in my head. One time I was at my cabin and I just happened to come up with this idea for a book. Mm-hmm. And I remember like all night I was just trying to remember it. So I kept repeating it to myself over and over and over again until the next day when I could get a piece of paper and write it down. Yeah. And I spent the entire day just scribbling notes because there's like when I say cabin, I literally mean like I'm off the grid. There's no electricity, like nothing. So I had to write all down on paper, all my thoughts. Yeah. And yeah, like I definitely have a lot of time to like sit in my thoughts on scenes and stuff.
For sure. I mean, that's like primitive camping for Girl Scouts.
Yeah, it's very primitive. Like, I mean, I'm talking like hauling water. Like, there's no running water. It's like,
oh my God.
You pack everything in, you pack everything out, and you hope you don't get eaten by a bear.
Okay. Well, you're like one mountainous woman there because there's no way I could do that. I've done the whole camping, glamping, hiking. I'm like, I'm done. Check mark off the box.
Count me out.
I'm done. Thank you. I got that badge on my Girl Scout sash. So, well, that makes sense then why you can't, set hard and fast deadlines because, well, one, Amazon is unforgiving if you miss them. So, that's a hard reason. But also because, you want a quality book that you put out, not be rushed and not shortcut the story because you don't have the time to dedicate to it.
And I do notice that, some authors really they push themselves to get a ton out, to get their whole series out, get this out, I need to get that out. And then they burn themselves out or they disappointed in themselves when they don't get it done. And it's, it's like, I don't want to feel that way because, it's like, this is supposed to be like my fun thing. Like writing was always something that was fun to me. And I don't want it to turn into, I mean, it is work, but I don't want it to turn into like a job where I'm miserable doing it, where I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have to sit down and write now. Like, I want to be like, yeah, I have time to sit down and write and, I'm going to get some stuff done. And that's.
Well, it's the piece that's for you. You're a busy mama, mm-hmm. You're a busy provider. You have a life, right? You're trying to get your health and prioritize mental health and physical. And so it's a lot. And so this is probably the one piece that's just for you.
And it is one of those things where I realize I'm like, writing is something that I find relaxing in so many ways. Like being able to sit down and escape into this world that I'm creating. Awesome. I was like, I love that. Like I love reading for the exact same reason. Like whatever book I pick up, it's like I'm in this whole new world. And I'm like, I don't want it to be anything more than that, really, at this point in my life. Like, I'm not ready for it to be something stressful.
No, not at all. I mean, it should be a beautiful process, and you should enjoy it, right? Yeah. Life is too short. And I feel like people want to be entertained. They want to escape. Sometimes life can be really, really hard. I feel like the world is divisive right now. It's why people will drive through, get a bag of food, and sit on the couch and then Netflix. And then Netflix rolls next episode. And, before you know it, 2-3 episodes go by or how many ever hours.
Yeah.
And so people are looking to have that release, that dopamine, the escape. And so instead of it being Netflix, it could be a book.
Yeah. Well, that's me for sure. My husband at night's like, do you want to watch something? I'm like reading a book. I'm like, not really, but I guess we can.
Like, I can sit next to you on the couch, but I'm not asking any questions.
I was like, if you massage my feet, does that count as us hanging out? While I read and you watch Netflix.
Yeah, I can read you the story.
Yeah.
I know, because the majority of romance readers are women, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes sense.
So let me ask you, what is the easiest part of being an indie author and what is the hardest?
I mean, I think the easiest part is probably writing, like, you know, because I enjoy it. It's fun to write. I think the hardest is marketing. Like, I'm like, if someone knows the secrets to getting my books out there for everybody to see and, you know, to get people to buy it, let me know, because I'm still trying to figure it out. But yeah, I think that's really, really hard to get media noticed in this day and age where everyone's on social media and no matter what social media you're on, there's, you know, millions of people who are also doing it that you're trying to, I don't want to say compete, because I just don't like that word, especially like when it comes to authors, because I don't feel like I'm competing with anybody, but like just trying to be noticed, you know, alongside other people.
No, I completely agree with you. I always say we rise with the tide. Mm-hmm. And so there are some really voracious readers that they are reading 100, 200. There was one I came across 300 books a year. Oh. There is no, okay, I'm not doing that. Yeah, there's no author that can put out that volume. So to me, that always means like there's room at the table for everybody.
Oh, there totally is. And even more than that too, what I think about is like also sometimes even in the same genre, like even if you're writing romance, like we're both romance writers, like our audiences might be completely different romance. Like, I don't, like, you write dark romance, that like a lot of dark romance people, like they're looking for that. So they might come over and get my book as a palate cleanser, but it's way more likely if our books were put next to each other, a dark romance reader is going to run for your book before they're going to run for mine. And so it's like, so why would I compete with you, right? Like, to me, I'm like, let me find your readers, because maybe they're on my page looking for your books.
Well, because there's also so many subgenres. We talked about, you know, hockey is popular right now. Meet cute, billionaire, mafia, military. There's so many subgenres that have taken off. And so people, if they like billionaire, they will read almost every single book they come across in billionaire. You know, and people are loyal. They're not only loyal to authors and their works, but they're also loyal to that subgenre.
Yeah. Oh, that's me in like small town. Like if there's a small town, it's very likely I'm going to pick it up. Like I'm here for all the things that you find in a small town book, all those predictable pieces of the puzzle that I know I'm going to see in every small town book. I don't care what author you are. I know I'm going to see it.
Girl, Hallmark movies. Hallmark movies are the same blueprint.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
And they're, I don't know, they must put out like 20 of those a year. And it's every year, you know, so yeah. To me, that's why.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Actually, someone I know who's traditionally published through Hallmark, I always forget because they now have a new Afterglow, so you have to like differentiate which one it is. But through Hallmark, and she had a movie made of one of her books, and like it's a thing. It's definitely a real thing, and it's whenever I talk to her about her writing experience with Hallmark, you're literally given the blueprint and like the general idea, and you just kind of have to run with that idea and you write it. It's very different to like, you know, writing as an indie author where I'm like, well, I'm gonna write about a sexy Irishman who's also a delivery driver. You know, like you don't get to do that.
Oh no. Well, the other one is Why Choose. Why Choose is super popular.
Oh, it is. I'm actually reading one right now. I'm buddy reading with a friend of mine, Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold. I'm very curious what I've gotten myself into, but
you gonna co-write it?
No, I'm buddy reading it, so we're reading it together.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I've read a few Why Choose, and my biggest gripe was that I was like, I'm always like rooting for like certain couples. I was like, but there's always that one that just doesn't feel like they quite fit. And so someone told her that this book, it's like they all fit. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to see if this is true.
I'm going to verify that and let you know.
They are?
No, I don't know. That's your like, I will put it through my filter, my test, and I will let you know.
If it can stand up to me, because like there's not one, like I do enjoy a good Why Choose, because I'm like, yeah, why not? Like life's too short. Enjoy what you enjoy. As long as everyone's consenting adults, I'm good. yeah, there's always that one couple in the group where I'm like, I don't know if you guys fit. I don't know why you're here.
So I don't read Why Choose just because I don't even know why. And so my brain trust is like, I'm coming out with a new series because my dark romance wrapped up after 4 books. And then it's a small town dark romance. And so now I'm doing a new dark romance.
I'm already there. So you just said small town. I'm like, I don't, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, it is small town. But anyway, and so they've been after me. They're like, you need to do a Why Choose. It'll totally fit this new series because it is very dark. And I was like, I don't even read Why Choose. Like, I'm sure I'll probably mess it up and I won't know, like, I feel like the sex scenes will be complicated. You know, there's a lot of like parts and people and stuff.
There are a lot of parts, yeah.
You got to bring that all together. And so, anyway, so I asked, 2 of them are huge Why Choose readers. And I said, okay, not the book I'm working on, but maybe the next book in that series, because I have to finish up this book by April 20th. That's my deadline. And I was like, but the next book in that series, I will do a Why Choose, and give me your recommendations. Laura, it was like with the recommendations. I was like, okay, that's a lot of parts and people and yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I don't think I could write a Why Choose or even a love triangle. I get too invested in one couple, and then I can't, like, there's a strategy to that because you have to make everyone invested in everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I just don't think I'm the right
author
to do that.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be liking that other guy. I got to bring him back.
Yeah, I got to bring him back in, and I got to make him a worthy.
Dang it.
And I'm like, I can't do that. I was like, it's so hard to do. And I've never read a love triangle book yet to this. Not saying it doesn't exist. Someone can always drop me like a book where they're like, oh, you'll see it here. But I've never read a love triangle where I didn't kind of see from the beginning who the person should be with all along. Like, where you can't see that favoring, where it's almost like, well, they're with this person because they just have to be because it's a love triangle. You know?
Yeah. I like to do those. My latest book was there's a huge plot twist. So you go down the road with one person, then things go bad.
Yeah. See, like, but I'm like, it's like, you've got to give me that, like, I need that reason. I'm like, okay, but why did this other person come in, and why are they worthy of, like, this person? I'm like, you got to show it to me. And there's always one who's like slightly lacking, and it's like, oh, well, we know who they're going to end up with. And I'm normally right. And I'm like, I want that twist. I'm like, make it so that I really can't tell. And both options would be just perfect.
Yeah, I know. Plot twists are fun, but as an author, you're just thinking like, okay, what am I going to throw at my readers? Like, how can I ruin it? My whole beat with the dark, I'm like, how can I beautifully ruin them?
I love that. Beautifully
ruin them.
Beautiful.
Or I'll be like, it's a beautifully disturbing. Like, she'll get her house after.
I feel like that's the best way to describe dark romance. So I just started reading dark romance. I don't know why I never did before. It's so good. But yeah, I just started reading it. And that's like the best way to describe it. I'm like, wow, you have just beautifully ruined everything. And I love it. I'm just here for it.
I know, because I like to like blow everybody up, unpack all their trauma to mass, and kind of Frankenstein them back together. But they're not perfect by any means. No. They're going to have a hole, or it's going to be like crooked. And
I mean, and I think that might be the beautiful thing about dark romance is that all these characters are so flawed that it's like, yikes. But at the same time, somehow it works. And I'm like, I don't even understand how you do that. Like, obviously, I'm not a dark romance writer, because whenever I read a dark romance and I finish it, I'm like, how did they do that? Like, how did they take this character who is like absolutely, probably, arguably the worst person I've ever read, made me love them and be invested in them and care about them, and like, how?
I know, because I wrote one of my characters. He is, he's a cartel kingpin, so he's going to do whatever he wants to do because, hello, he's number one. And so I threw everything at him that I wanted to. And so my readers were like, oh my gosh, where's his redemption arc? I'm like, girl, he's not getting one. He's as despicable as I want him to be. And people were still rooting for him. And I was like, no, he's horrible.
I know. And I think that's the best thing about dark romance authors is they do not apologize for the fact that these characters are terrible people. And I'm like, yes. Whereas like for me, it's almost like whenever my characters do something that maybe isn't the nicest thing to do, it's almost like I have to defend it and I have to redeem them somehow from this awful thing that they did because like, I can't get away with that.
It's our Catholic guilt.
Yeah, there we go.
I shouldn't say that. Everybody be like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. But like, if you grew up in the Catholic Church, like we did, you know.
Man, that's why I read. When I read Priest, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, thank you. That was hot. I'm like, well, that is what you do with the oil, indeed.
My girl, I just finished Priest like last week, and you know, if y'all haven't read that. And you grew up in the Catholic Church and all the sacraments and the altar, I was like, oh.
I was like, you're not supposed to do that on the altar, you guys. That's the most holy part of the church.
I know. And she's like, and I was looking over your shoulder at Jesus. I was like, she's burning in hell. She's going to burn in hell. Not enough Hail Marys. She needs to repent.
I know. We're going to have to go to confession.
I know. I was like, whoa. So yeah, if you've been raised in the Catholic Church and you're read that book, oh man, I was like, oh, not, and it's super spicy, but to me it was giving me the sweats. Like you can't do that.
I know, that's all I was thinking like the whole time. As soon as that opening scene started and they're like in the confession box together, I was like, oh no, this is already bad.
You cannot do that. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pray for your soul. Oh. I'm gonna light a candle.
Oh my god. Oh,
okay.
It's so true. Have you started the second one yet?
Is it Sinner, I think?
Yeah.
I have not. Girl, I'm still recovering from the pre.
Oh, it's
so I like that I can talk to this with another Catholic.
Is he Catholic? No.
You're raised Catholic, and so you're
raised Catholic, but no, this one, he's not. But it's so good. It is, I'd argue to say it's better than Priest. Like, the storyline was better, I think.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check
I think, too, for me, I was expecting Priest because everyone's like, oh, this is so scandalous. And, like, as a Catholic, I'm like, yeah, that was very scandalous. But at the same time, I think I was expecting more.
Oh.
Because part of me was also like, yeah, but priests do this a lot. They all want us to think.
Girl. Don't even get me started on Vatican City.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Anyway, so let me ask you, how do you stay motivated to write?
I think it's just I love the stories. You know, I love the stories. I love the characters that I'm creating. I have fun with them. And I think that's always been my thing. Even with my Instagram, I'm like, I just want this to be fun. Like, I don't want to sit and stress. I just want to have fun with it. And also, I mean, it's why, like, I will say to anyone who is getting an editor, part of why I decided to change editors was that I was like, I am not having fun with my editor. I'm actually having a very hard time. And I think I need someone who is just like, who I mesh better with. And now it's like, whenever I got that sample back, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun again. You know, I'm not feeling defeated. I'm feeling excited to like fix up my book.
Is that your developmental editor or your line editor?
Developmental. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, a line editor is, you know, I feel like it's okay. But like a developmental editor, you want someone who really feels like they're on your team and caring about you and your voice and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always the thing I say to anyone who's looking for a developmental editor. It's like, look for, like, go through a ton of them, interview them all, get sample chapters from everybody. I was like, just, you know, do your homework.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. So how did you find your team?
Yeah,
well,
so my editor...
Hold on, let me back up one. Who is on your team? What constitutes your team? And then how'd you find them?
Okay, well, So I say, like, I use my friends a lot for like critique. So like I'll talk to my friend Ria, for example. She's also a writer. So sometimes I'll be like, what do you think of this? And she'll tell me what she thinks. And it really is about having those friends who are very honest with you and who aren't afraid to tell you if like an idea sucks. or if like you're not going to be able to redeem your character if you need to redeem them. Like you need someone who's willing to tell you that. So a lot of that's just through like friends and stuff like that, just me bouncing an idea off of them. I have like a couple beta readers. Again, they tend to be friends and stuff like that who will read through my scripts for me. And then for arcs, I put it out to like Instagram. There are places you can go. Romance is pretty easy. There's a lot of romance pages that are willing to put out, if you need an arc reader and you send them something, they'll put it in their stories and you'll get them back. I also happened, when I was looking for arc readers for the Love of Art, someone happened to post something saying they were in a group of people who were willing to arc read. So I just sent her a DM, and that's where I actually got the bulk of my arc readers.
Is that on Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Oh, that's good, because a lot of people are saying like go to Facebook to find them.
I don't even know how to use Facebook as an author. I've never really done it, so I'm like, I don't know.
Same. Facebook for me is like, drudgery. If they didn't own Instagram, I would not have it.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for my editor, I use her name's Chelsea. I always forget the name of her editing firm. Like her business, the name evades me, but yeah, I have to get that information, because I always forget it. They're always putting out stuff. Right now they are actually taking on new authors. So
okay, is it a editing only, or do they do other author services?
As far as I know, they only do editing, but they have all kinds of editing. So if you're looking for developmental, line, copy, proofreading, like whatever it is that you're in the whatever you're looking for, they do it. Editing wise. And there are also writers, so it's really good. Anyway, she's awesome. She's great. She's easy to work with. And yeah, so that's pretty much my team. I do my own formatting.
So you found all your team through social media?
Yeah.
And then,
and just for being social.
And then you vet everybody in advance to make sure they're a right fit. And I know what you're talking about. Sometimes, you just get someone that is not necessarily the right fit. I had one editor, really good editor, but she was rewriting my stuff, or she just didn't believe in my voice, the way I would write. And so I was like, we probably need to, it just wasn't a good fit, because she didn't like the way I wrote. And then her criticisms were coming back, needing like huge, massive chunks to be rewritten. I was like, but if I take that out, then, so yeah, I think finding that is important.
That's really my experience. I went through Readsy first to look for an editor. And that was, so I went through a bunch, and I specifically picked out romance editors and all this kind of stuff. They have full profiles and stuff on there, and I got sample chapters from quite a few people. Like, I was not shy about, looking at a ton of editors, because I really, really wanted to make sure that it was the right fit. And I had like the same issue where it just really felt like they didn't believe in me or my voice, and it just got to this point where I was getting like the critiques back, and I was just dreading it. And I'm like, that's not the feeling I should be having. Like, it's always hard getting critiques on your book, but it shouldn't be this hard from someone who's supposed to be part of your team, like that's how I do it. Like, it's my team, not someone who's trying to tell me that I'm a crappy writer.
No, because that's what you want. You want people that believe in you, right? Again, we rise with the tide. So if like you're putting out books and they are helping you, then, they get in the acknowledgments, or they get paid, or and so together you guys all rise as a team. Yeah. That's how I feel.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and yeah, I don't know. It was just not a great experience. And I was like, oh no. And you spend so much money too. And like when you're an indie author, it's like you can't spend the money on an editor and be like, well, that was crappy. I'm going to go to this other editor and I'm going to start the process again. It's like, no, you're in it. Now you're in it.
Yeah. It's kind of like a bad marriage. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe we need to go to counseling.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I understand. I mean, you can have team members that are phenomenal, you know, like your ride or die, and then others that are just like, you know, it can kind of disappoint your writing, right? Because you are with the wrong person, and then they're bringing you down.
Exactly. And I also have a really good friend who alpha read her often either gets, sorry, not alpha read, she takes my arcs, and she's she always does, like if I have like a spelling error in the book, she'll get it to me before I put the book out, so that all the little typos are fixed and stuff like that. So she's wonderful. Yeah. You can follow her at fit.and.fiction. And yeah.
Okay, fit.n, like A-N-D?
A-N-D, yeah, .fiction.
Okay.
Yeah. She's really wonderful. She's very indie friendly. So, and she likes dark romance. I just want to say that.
Does she have author services that she provides?
She takes books, like she'll accept books and she reads them and reviews them on her page, and she's growing. So she's actually like a really good place to put books, and she'll leave Amazon reviews and yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, thank you. That's for any of the authors that are listening in here. That's a good resource.
Yeah. And if you're a dark romance author, I can tell you she loves a good dark romance, and the darker and the more questionable, the better. So, she's the one who's been guiding me through my dark romance journey.
Well, and I mean that even dark romance is a super wide, you know, like subgenre. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in there. So
yeah, like I started with Hooked, and I've heard that, you know, you got to work your way to things like That Sick Love. You can't just, I was like, oh, do I start with this? And she's like, no, you do not start with that.
We don't jump off the deep end of the pool, Laura.
She's like, geez. It's like, you must walk before you run.
The baby pool over there.
They're still learning how to swim. Get over there.
I feel like me and you can talk forever. We just have such a good time, and I've missed connecting with you so much.
Me too, yeah. Good.
Do you have time for a few rapid fire?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Are you a paperback reader or e-reader?
Oh gosh, I'm between. Just depends.
I see all those behind you.
I have a ton of paperback, but we won't look in my e-reader.
I know my TBR for my e-reading, it's just ridiculous. I can't even get to it. And then, you know, we're on Instagram, you see a reel, you're like, okay, buy that one. And I'm just like, what? Okay, you got to actually read some of these sometime.
I know, that's where I'm at. Like, I won't even tell you how many of these are unread. We won't talk about it.
We don't have to admit our sins here, okay? This is not race. This is not the
This isn't confessional.
Isn't the confessional, although 10 Hail Marys and yours. Okay, plotting or pantsing? Which are you?
Plotting.
Really?
Yeah. My friend for my birthday, she's so sweet. I love her to pieces. She got me, I can never say the name of this program right, so bear with me, but Scrivener.
Oh, Scrivener.
Scrivener. I don't even know. At least we'll know what I'm talking about. Scrivener.
I love it. But you know, I was talking to someone and they said Arkansas, and I was like, Arkansas for Arkansas. Because you know, Kansas, we say Kansas, and so they're like Arkansas.
That'd be me, the Canadian, saying that.
Yeah, well, it was my friend, and he's Lebanese, so he is, you know, not born here, so he didn't have to do like the whole 50 states. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was Arkansas for a long time until I watched a show that said Arkansas, and I was like, oh, okay, well, never say Arkansas.
And everybody's like, how do you get
Arkansas
out of Arkansas? You know, because like you have Kansas, you know? Yeah.
I know. I mean, I get it. It's confusing. Just gotta watch more TV.
Okay, Scribner, have you gotten into it yet?
Yeah, so I have, and the plotting on it is just amazing, and I'm very into it.
It's robust. But there's a learning curve.
Pardon?
There's a learning curve.
There is.
But it's robust.
Yeah, so my friend took the time to sit down with me and like walk me through it, because I was like, I opened it up and I'm like, I don't know what you do with this.
Oh, it's like Notion. Everybody's like, oh my God, go into Notion. It'll set up your whole life. And I'm like, Notion is blank. You got to buy some templates, or whoever told you that Notion is great. You go to their YouTube and you buy all their templates and you shove it in. And then you do. Because Notion's the same way, blank screen. You're like, where do I start?
Yeah. No. It was a learning curve, but now that I've got it, it's really cool, and I'm super excited about it. So, because I was using Google Docs before, which works fine, but like, yeah, this is nice because now I'm like, oh, I can like actually individually lay out each chapter, and not just the chapter, but I can go into the chapter and lay out the scenes. Like I can say what I need to have happen in a scene, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Okay, you need to give me a master class on that, because I can't plot for nothing. And I keep telling my dev editor, I'm like, oh, I'm going to plot this one. And she's like, are you? Yes.
But some people do really good pantsing. And I tried. I wasn't great at it, but I tried once.
Isn't that funny? It's so different. Okay. Do you write in first person or third person?
First.
Okay. Do you plot driven or character driven are your books?
I feel like they're character driven.
Yeah. I like those. Those are usually like really rich stories.
Yeah, I feel like they're character driven. They all go to the same place. It's a romance, you guys. There's no spoilers here.
Yeah, all happily ever after. Okay, writing alone or writing with a partner?
Writing alone.
Oh, or writing sprints. Do you ever sprint?
I did, but I always found it so hard because I would be like just getting into it, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, put in your word count, and I'm like, oh God, what? Like I got mid thought. I was like, I think I'm just better at writing and doing my own thing.
Outline or discovery writer?
I feel like I start with an outline, but I do discover stuff along the way, and it changes things.
I love that though, right? It's part of the magic of writing.
Yeah, like in my current book, all of a sudden out of nowhere, my character is now like into sewing, and I was like, oh, and it just like popped up whenever he was asking about our hobbies, and I was like, sewing. I was like, what?
Okay.
I was like, where did that come from? I was like, okay, so
let's go with it.
Trying to change stuff a bit, but I'm like, okay.
Right. Yeah, great room clothes.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay.
Do you write in silence or with music?
Silence.
Really? You're one of the few authors that write in silence alone. Most have to have something.
Yeah, no, I don't listen to music. I get inspiration from music. So sometimes when I'm listening to music, it will like trigger something in my brain. But when I'm writing, I do have a very noisy keyboard though, because I guess like silence in the sense that I'm not listening to music, but I do like my noisy keyboard because it makes me
clack.
Yeah. It's a mechanical keyboard, and it clicks and it clacks, and I like it for that reason, because I feel like I'm productive because I hear so many clicks and clacks.
I had to borrow, my son has a gaming computer or a gaming setup or whatever, and I had to borrow his one time because my laptop it had died, and so it was in, when they transfer your data from one to the other, and he has one of this clicky clacky. Oh, girl. I was just like getting like, oh. I think I was getting a tick because I was like, this is too clicky clacky.
See, and I'm so weird. It's like, I love it. It's like the best thing to me. And it feels so productive. I'm like, listen to all that noise coming out.
I know, but you have to really like press down on your keys. And I am a laptop. I use a laptop. And those are really more like touch. But I was just like, come on. Like,
Oh, this one's pretty it's a light touch. It feels like it makes the noise, but it's not like a typewriter where you have to like pound the keys. Although I do wish I lived in a time of typewriters. Those were so cool.
I could not do that. I would have a tick. I'd be like,
that's like, I always tell everyone, I'm like, that would have been my dream job, would have been being a secretary, sitting in front of a typewriter, just typing correspondence and listening to like the meetings and typing out the minutes. I'm like, that's like my dream job. Like someone
50s court reporter or whatever they are.
Oh, I don't want to be a court reporter. I can't handle
a secretary.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, like a secretary in the 50s, I would have nailed it.
He was that show, what, Mad Men?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, I could be one of those women. I could be Peggy before she became the copywriter.
That's hilarious. That's so cute. Writing with the deadline, write your own pace.
My own pace. I do set deadlines though. I mean, my editor gives me deadlines. So I guess it's like I have deadlines, but I'm also a bit at my own pace.
Yeah, but they're flexible.
Yeah.
Series or standalone?
Oh.
Yeah, both now.
Both, yeah. And I'm a both person. I'm like, sometimes I like a series, but sometimes I'm like, just a little standalone.
Like, I only got one book in me. Yeah. That's all I got.
That's all I got for these people.
Exactly. Okay, historical setting, present day or future?
Present day.
All of them?
All of them.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Hard to write. Historically, there's so much research to get it right. And then the future, to me, it's like you have to figure out like what hasn't been invented that we should invent and then put it in your book.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't know. Historical too, it's so hit or miss for me. Like sometimes I really love historical and then sometimes I'm like, oh my God. I was like,
Bridgerton, Outlander.
Okay, I love those.
I know. But I'm like, okay, I can't write like they do. So I'm not even going to go historical because Outlander, chef's kiss. Love it.
Oh my God. Diana Gabaldon, like, holy crap. I'm like, how do you write that many thick, not just, and these are not tiny books, they are like freaking thick books. And all of them are good.
Mad respect.
And if, in a time where your characters are always on the wrong side of history, how did you do this? Like, what the heck?
Can you imagine how much research she has to do? Like, is in a 40-hour week, is it like 20% writing and 20% research? Or I mean, 20 hours of writing and 20 hours of research?
It has to be. Like, it's insane. Like, and she writes like of the time and all the Gaelic she had to learn. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, I don't know how you did it.
No, that is daunting. I'm just going to try and learn why choose.
Yeah. I'm going to learn how to write dual POV.
Right? So there's our author goals for 2024. Well, it's been so much fun catching up with you. You're such a doll, you know, that I just adore you. So we will definitely have to do this again in the fall to check in, see where you're at, and congratulations on your 2 releases this year.
Yeah, thank you. And hopefully people will check out my new book.
Yeah.
Or my old
both titles.
Yeah, you'll want them all. Once you read one book by me, you want them all.
Yeah, For the Love of Art came out on April 1st.
It did, yeah.
Alrighty, well, I will catch up with you in the DMs.
Yeah.
Otherwise, good luck writing and happy reading.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me on again.
Always.
I love our conversations. They're so good, and I'm so excited about you reading Priest. You can talk to me anytime about that book because I have a lot of thoughts. So.
I know, right? Okay, we'll be book buddies.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. Ciao for now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.